It's showtime. Here's the thing. When does your passion sound like desperation? All right, my friends, we are back. And you know what? Um, Today's show, I think, is going to be spectacular for all of you. So, we're continuing with our book club Friday with When They Say No by Andrew Richard Fenton. And I'm okay. So, even though they call this the definitive guide to handling rejection in sales, here's one thing that I'm really realizing as I'm going through it and as I'm sharing it with you. Um, oh my gosh, so many of these things that we're going to talk about today are so me as a salesperson, and I think they're going to be so you as a salesperson as well. So let's dive into it, shall we? So today we're going to go through about 3 to 4 different chapters, depending on how long I tend to babble on these chapters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the title, then I'm going to actually share with you kind of the key points in the chapter or section, I guess is a better word. And then we're going to go through it. And if you're live, share your comments because I'd love to hear what you're thinking about this in direct. So when they say no, we listen. See, no, that's not actually what they say. The overwhelming majority of high performers say it's due to the inability to listen and that salespeople talk too much instinctively. And here's the really kicker is I'm so guilty of this so many times that I literally have to like stop myself. So and you know what? I'm going to talk to you about some tools as well. So it says instinctively, salespeople want to talk a lot, describing the features and benefits of their product or service, sometimes for no other reason than to impress others with their vast knowledge on the subject. Okay. A recent study suggests that high performing sales professionals on average speak only 43% of the time, allowing prospects to speak 57% of the time. You know, so here's a couple of things with this for starters, right? So number one, um, I can tell you even now, I have a problem with geeking out on data. Like I have a real problem with it, and you might be the same way. If you are, God love you. For me, it comes down to I love what I do so much. I can't help but geek out on it, right? I can't help but, if I find some course or something, I want to do it and then I'll consume it all. And not only consume it, like I'll absorb it and I'll be like, "Ah," and you just want to, they call it, so in the digital marketing world, Russell Brunson calls it techno babble, right? But it's where we lose people a lot of the is that techno babble. It's that idea of as a salesperson trying to like your superpowers, right? If you watched the Statistics Lounge last night, we talked a lot about your superpower. Yesterday on the podcast, I talked a lot about your superpower. You know, you have a benefit, and that will come to light. But we as salespeople, we want to verbal diarrhea the benefit all over our prospects, and sometimes that turns them off. So the other thing in this piece here is 43% of the time, I I was shocked, and I'm going to be interesting when we have Andrew and Richard on. I thought it would be lower that high performance salespeople in sales, because we're listening, we're absorbing, then we're asking questions, and we're allowing the prospect to come back to us, right? When I'm on a sales call that is not a demo, where on a demo for our software, we'll ask the necessary questions, which we're going to get to in a minute. And then it'll be more like I'll show them the solution to that challenge they have and ask them for a follow up to it. I can see myself speaking 70% of the time during a demo or 60%. During a sales call, I was actually shocked at that 43. And to me, the prospect only speaks 57% of the time. So that's one question we're going to want to be talking about. So here's one key takeaway that they said. If you're not getting a lot of no's, maybe you're spending too much time presenting and too little time listening. You know, it started me thinking. So here we are. We're in 2024. At this point, should we not be presenting only after we understood what they want to hear? And let me explain to you this way. So when we launched Bridger, right? The first couple of demos, I was geeking out on all the cool tools and stuff we have in the back end and the AI that's in it and how it writes emails for you and proposals and the automation and its never leaves a lead and all these really cool features that we as logistic reps have always wanted in CRMs, and none of them have them. And we never understood why. So, like, the 360-degree sequencing that we have, the automated hybrid, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I can go on and on and on with all these features, right? All these tools that will help a salesperson get from where they are to where they want to go. Okay, no problem. The challenge was when I got on my first couple demos, I'm like, and I would like blah, puking on everybody to get all of these cool features out. I remember stopping and saying, like, my first two demos sucked. Like was nobody was like buying. And I was like, how is nobody buying? Like, this is crazy. This is amazing. And then I realized I never even asked them what their challenges were. So now, before I get on any demo, I say, okay, so if you wouldn't mind sharing with me, let's take 5, 6 minutes. Share with me what your challenges are, what you don't like about your present CRM, what you don't like about how the workflow is. And I get all that information. Then what do? I start my presentation where their mind is, right? We talk about it all the time where you start the sales call where your prospect's mind's at. So, in my opinion, you have to figure out where the prospect mind is before you even present. And this is one of the challenges that a lot of salespeople have. Even now, salespeople I work with, it's like you want to babble out all this really cool stuff that your company does. Nobody cares until you understand how that cool stuff your company does connects with the prospect's needs. Okay. So that's number one. So let's go into the next one right here, right away. When they say no, don't take it personally. Now, this is one that I struggled with for a long time. And this goes right back to the title, passion versus desperation. When you're passionate about something and when you fully believe in something, and then I hope you as a logistics salesperson fully believe in what you're doing, your business, your model, the way you have it, your flow, your company, your team, your suppliers, all of that. Okay. When we believe in it, it's very tough not to take no personally. For all of you out there that are saying, "Yeah, I'm good with it. I don't take it personally." God bless you, because that is probably one of the most difficult things. Because for me, anyways, I can say I believe that what I do helps. I believe that the training we have, I believe that the system we built in Bridger is the ultimate tools for sales reps to generate $1 million GP minimum. When I can't get that across, I feel bad that I've let my prospect down. And that's how much I believe in what I do, whether it's moving freight, helping them achieve their goals, training them to get better, showing them the 10 rungs above what they're capable of. And it's not even in logistics, it's with friends, it's with family. If I can't convince them, I feel like I've let them down. Now, some of you might say, well, Dan, some people just aren't going to buy. And I know that. But I also, and, being fully transparent here, my friends, like I also struggle with it every single day, every single hour, every single call, every single time that a prospect does not take me up on the offer, I struggle with the no. Now, you've seen me post before where I say, you know what? I'm not going to try and convince anybody, and I won't. I'll share how our solutions are working with us will solve those problems. If they're not interested, then they're not. It doesn't mean I don't take it personally. So for me, this one, the don't take it personally chapter. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, you can see how much I've highlighted it, written in it. If you're watching this live, if you're on the podcast and watching this later, I've underlined almost every single word in this chapter, just because it is seriously my biggest issue is taking no's personally because I just believe so much in what I do. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But it says here the fear of rejection is biologically hardwired into our DNA. Um, so here's where I really started looking at it and saying, wow, Richard and Andrea really hit a chord here, where they say, and in some way, we are not really afraid of rejection. We're afraid of what we think rejection means. And then it says about us and about our future. I never really thought of it in that way, but I can see that as one of the things, right? Is that like somebody says no to you, it might be a fear of not having that revenue in the future, fear of not putting up the numbers in the future, like whatever that fear is for you as an individual, it could spark it subconsciously. You might not even know, right? So and then what I really like is when he goes into, he says, here's the reality. It all comes down to this. You're not in a battle with your prospect. You're at war with your own mind. Like our mind fucks up in so many ways when it comes to our career, just our family and everything. I mean, I've talked to you guys so many times about status and how everything we do, no matter who you are, no matter how much training you do, no matter what, everything we do comes down to status. Subconsciously, our brain makes decisions based on status, right? A perfect story. A friend of mine, 4 years ago, 4 years ago now, probably, bought a Porsche 911. It's been his dream car since he was 12. He's early 60s, and he finally bought a Porsche. And I said, "Oh, you gonna just get like a winter car now?" He says, "Oh, no, 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 I'm gonna keep my truck." I said, "Oh, really?" He says, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna drive that to work every day." Why? Because well, I don't want to drive my Porsche to work every day. I go, why? Like kilometers, thinking like you want to. He goes, no, he goes, it's just people will think I'm making too much money and they'll just, he goes, it won't be good. And I'm like, hold on. You've owned this company since you were in your mid 20s. So 40 years you've owned this company. You've built this company from zero to a multi-million dollar corporation. You've put your blood, sweat, and tears. You've risked everything in your life for this company. And you're afraid of what other people will think of you when you go into your company because you made it and you put 40 years of your life into this and maybe somebody's just decided to have a job and work for an hourly wage and I sat there and I said really and he says yeah he says like I don't want them to think any different there. So I'm thinking about how crazy like just please stop what you're doing right now, just think about this for a second. You've wanted something your whole life. You finally have the money, the financial freedom to be able to do it, and then you do it, and you feel like you can't show everybody. You feel like there's certain places you can't take it, right? And I say, "Really?" Like, to me, it's like that status piece is just it's such a crush and sometimes it's such a crushing thing, like, I'll give you a personal example. Um, I've I've always wanted a Mustang, right? When I was a kid, my buddy Kevin had one. And I love that thing. It was a 5 liter Cobra. It was like, the hot shit when I was kids. And um, I sit here and I had my name in for a mock EG. Um, and I'm sitting there playing with the idea. And when I was playing with the idea between my mock EGT and my truck, it was a multitude of things like, convenience, the ability to tow my sleds, all this kind of stuff. And I elected on the truck. But I'll tell you, I elected on the truck for not for status reasons, but for the ability to be able to haul my sleds and get wood and all that kind of stuff in my house. I do pretty much all my own construction. Um, but I'll tell you, when I was thinking through this, the idea of are people going to think I'm having a midlife crisis if I get the highest powered Mustang, it actually crossed my mind, which was crazy because I'm like, that if I'm able to do it, why would I not do it and enjoy it, right? So that's what I'm talking about. And then so what he says is he says he goes, so one thing that I hear, no isn't personal unless you make it personal by choosing to take it personally. And he gives you a pretty cool idea here. He says, imagine going into Baskin Robbins that has 31 flavors and selecting one flavor and the other one getting jealous. Sounds stupid, right? Like we disconnect that. But that's literally what happens because the thing is, it's about your prospect, not about you. So if your prospect likes bubblegum ice cream and you like chocolate ice cream, it has nothing to do with you. That's just their preference. So that's the same thing when we are in what we're doing, right? So Key takeaway: ultimately, someone's no has nothing to do with you, even if it's about you. Um, Next one here. Um, is argue, don't argue or attack. Now, this chapter was interesting to me. So if you'll notice here, I've highlighted nothing on this page. And the reason why I highlighted nothing on the page is because I I I don't think for us and for you guys out there, I don't think it's an argument or an attack. We all know we don't argue or attack the competition because it makes us look bad. Like we all know that, right? But what it does bring us right into is the next one where it says respect their decision. And this is one where I look at it as a professional salesperson, you must maintain your composure. Instead of reacting in a way that there's fear, respond in a way they don't expect, positive and upbeat. Make them comfortable. Congratulate your prospect for coming to a decision and wish them well. To me, that's everything. Like when I go in and I say, what's your primary and secondary reason for adding or switching a service provider? And somebody says, price. And I said, what do you mean by price? Oh, I choose the cheapest one. I go in, I send a list to 15 different people. The cheapest one gets it. I'm like, okay, well, can I clarify that a bit? And they're like, yeah, sure. Okay. Well, what do you mean by price? Like, is it 50 bucks, 100 bucks? If I come in and I get you rate, and we do some business and I'm $50 higher, in 3 months from now when I've shown you unreal value, am I still going to get the load? And they go, no, it'll be the cheapest price. I said, well, you know what? Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm honored that you have that system. If that works for you, that's fantastic. Unfortunately, it's not synergistic. Like it doesn't coincide with my business model. So I wish you a great day and take care. And that to me is not oh, you know what, I'm not interested. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not interested in dealing with them at that point. But I give them a very upbeat and happy, see you later, have a great day. And I do that because 99% of the time that leads to the conversation. Like, well, what do you mean? You don't want to do it? And I start explaining my business model. I'm like, damn, I'd like to get involved in that or see how that works. Now, like 2% of the time, that'll convert the customer into a better customer that I would more see as an ideal client. But that's like 2 out of 100 customers, and it takes, 100 calls to get 1 customer, you know what I mean? So you start doing the math, and it's slim to none. But respecting your decision, I think, is a great chapter. Um, so here's the next 2 are gonna be the 2, and then we're gonna close off today. But the next 2 is don't be desperate, and you may have overdone your passion, and that's why I named today's show what I named it, passion versus desperation. So here's the thing when it comes to desperation, right? For all of you out there that don't have a full funnel, when you lose, sorry, let me rephrase that. For all of you out there that don't have a full funnel, when you're prospecting somebody and they don't close, it hurts more than if you had a full funnel. So what happens is if your funnel's not full, and be honest with yourself right now. If your funnel's not full, you kind of cling on to that possibility more than if your funnel was full. And I think we all do. I think it's part of human. I think it's part of the fact that, you know, this is our job. This is our livelihood. It's a way to put a roof over our heads, all that kind of stuff. I think all that comes into play. So for me, I look at that piece of desperation and I often say, guys, gals, that's when commission breath comes out. And Andrea Richard said, people can smell desperation a mile away and it instantly turns them on. And again, I think as salespeople, we also need to have our own intuition, right? When somebody calls you up and you can sense the desperation, you get turned off. So if you have desperation in your voice, why would you ever think that your customer won't hear it, see it, feel it, right? So I think that's something we really need to pay attention to. And they said nobody wants to buy from a desperate salesperson. Keep in mind, professionalism and desperation are 2 very different things. For example, persistence and following up are classic behaviors of top performing salespeople. We'll talk more about that later. Both can feel desperate, but great salespeople know they must take the lead. It doesn't come from a place of desperation. It's rooted in the advisor selling style. How many times have we talked about being a resource, being an advisor, being that consultant, not the salesperson for your customer? This is just key to back it up. The key takeaway here. Um, okay, so here's actually a really great quote quote from a musician, Amanda Palmer. The art, and she wrote a book called The Art of Asking. And she says this: you can't ask authentically and gracefully without truly being able to accept no for an answer. Because if you're not truly willing to accept no for an answer, you're not really asking, you're demanding, you're begging. So here's one thing I've always said to my kids: don't ask a question unless you're ready for the answer. And what I mean by that is don't ask the question unless you're ready for the positive or the negative answer, right? For all of you that have kids, a lot of the times kids ask questions or they ask your opinion for that looking at you to agree with their decision or agree with what they're doing. And I've always said, don't ask me if all you want is that agreement because I'll give you my honest answer. And I've been like that since the kids were able to talk. Like it's just something I believe in. I will not morph my answer to be what you want to hear. I'll morph it based on my opinion because you're asking my opinion. So, in other words, when you're asking a customer for the sale or prospect for the sale, when you're asking prospect for to go deeper, to dive deeper, be prepared for whatever answer they give, right? Like, be prepared because as G.I. Joe said, knowing is half the battle. So if I know when they say no, I can respond with this, or when they say yes, I can respond with this. When you're prepared, you're going to get better and you're going to do more, be more, and achieve more, right? Key takeaway here, you can allow yourself to look or sound desperate, even if you feel that you can't allow yourself to look or sound desperate, even if you feel that way inside. And here's the kicker: if your product or service has true value to the customer, you are doing them a favor. Hey, my friend, hey, if your product or service has value, if you believe in your value, you're doing them a favor. I truly believe that. Because what's our goal in logistics? Our goal is to help our customers achieve their goals, right? That's really what it is. If you want to boil it down to a nucleus of what logistics is, we're helping a customer achieve their goal. If their goal is just to get their product to market, we're helping them achieve their goal. Okay. So let's take value in that. Let's take that and say, listen, I have real value here. I bring real value to the market. My value I bring to the market is astronomical. And obviously, it's above just getting product to market, but you guys know what I'm saying. So honor that. Be proud of that. Be proud to carry the flag of a logistics sales profession. Be proud to carry the flag of a freight broker. Be proud to carry the flag of an asset based care. Be proud to carry the flag of a professional in our industry because we're needed. And this, to me, it's like, dang, that's it. But that brings us right into the next one. You may have overdone your passion. I am guilty of this a lot. And, you know, I've often said to people, and people have said to me many, many times, dang, like your passion is just crazy. Like you love this stuff. And I'm like, I do. But I'll tell you, my friend, sometimes that passion has just like, people have just been like, holy crap, this guy is way too much. I can't handle it. And I know that. Like I'm not oblivious to it. It's not like I said, well, if you don't like my passion, then get out. I mean, I know I can see when I'm speaking with people, when I'm having conversation, I get passionate and my voice starts raising and my voice gets a little faster and I'm like going through it. I can see their eyes glaze over and they're like lost them. It's happened in meetings. It's happened in board meetings. It's happened in meetings with like 6 board members and like multi-million dollar meetings. I'm like, and I look, I kind of just feel the room. Oh, I just everybody. When I first started speaking, it happened to rooms where there was like 200 people in a room, and I lost the entire room because of my passion. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't toned it down. Um, I believe in my passion. I've learned ways to elevate my voice, de-escalate my voice. Like, I've learned ways to create a better flow where I can still get my passion across, but not overwhelm. So here's the thing. The dictionary defines passion as a strong and barely controllable emotion. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be sold a product by a salesperson displaying barely controllable emotion. So to that, I have to dig with it because I geek out so much on what I do, how much I love it, how much I know I can serve at the highest levels. So for me, I know, and it says here, it says, it's clear. To be clear, he's not anti-passionate. We're just suggesting passion doesn't play a role in sales. It does. You should be passionate about your product, passionate about your service, passionate about your company, and passionate about your career, right? And you should be passionate about satisfying your customers' needs. So my thing here is, and the great takeaway they have from this, too great a display of passion can sometimes come off as desperation. And I don't know, I don't know what that answer is. Where is that line drawn? And it's another question that we're going to be bringing up to Richard and Andrea because I think that is a really key piece of the puzzle is where when it comes to passion versus desperation. Where do we as individuals be in that picture? And I guess one of the bigger things for you guys going into this weekend is are you have you are you displaying too much passion comes across as desperation? Now, let's look at this from a industry specific this time situation, right? Beginning of January, we are in the midst of like one of the worst years when they talk about like shipping, volumes, commodities, all this kind of stuff in a very, very long time. Um, Everyone's tightening their belts, everyone's tightening their purse straps. It's taking longer to get into companies. Like there's really good things in the industry. Like there's certain industries that are booming right now. Like with anything during COVID, certain industries were dead, certain industries were booming. So more majority than not are having challenges. Now, if you're very passionate about what you do, how and this is something I started thinking of as I was getting prepared for this podcast because before reading, I would have never thought like this. But now I'm starting to think, okay, I'm starting to review some of my conversations that I had. I'm thinking, was I too passionate? Because if people are hearing or have their antennas up looking for desperation in voices, in gestures and all this kind of stuff, I start thinking to myself, is my passion displaying desperation? And I'm not going to say it is because I believe wholeheartedly in passion, and I can't wait to have Andrew and Richard on because I'd love to dissect this for a while. But I guess the question that I have to you is maybe just pay attention because when people are more consciously aware of something, it's kind of the old saying that people say where when you decide to buy a car, a specific car, you start seeing that vehicle everywhere, right? So if you're expecting desperation as a shipper, as a manufacturer, if you're expecting desperation, heard it in the other salespeople. Are you going to assume that the next salesperson that has passion for what they're doing is considered desperation? Things that make you go, don't know what the answer is there, my friends. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna continue with my passion because I believe in my passion. I believe in what I do wholeheartedly, and I think if you believe in what you do, you are who you are, and there's gonna be people that love it, people that don't. And, I don't know. To me, that's kind of where this all ends. If I'm not passionate about what I do, why am I doing it? You know, I remember vividly, and I'll share this story with you, and then I'll let you get on with your day and your weekend. I remember vividly having a conversation with a junior sales rep when I was training them, and we're having the conversation, and this was on a Friday afternoon, and he comes in, he's like, "Dan, I'm not motivated, like, and just talk to me, share some things." And I'm like, here's the thing. Motivation is a very waning thing, waning, how it like it comes and goes, And I said, and most motivation is developed through passion. I said, if you don't have a passion for what you're doing, you're very rarely going to be motivated. If it doesn't allow you to be creative, you're very rarely going to be motivated. If it doesn't move you, you're very rarely going to be motivated. If you wake up in the morning and you go, "Ugh," another day, you're very rarely going to be motivated, right? So for me, I look at that and say, if you don't like what you're doing, you're going to have to work so friggin' hard at getting motivated. So we had that conversation. I said, like, go home this weekend. Really think like what moves me about what I'm doing. And I was more talking about like what products because when you start shipping products you love and you start having conversations with people that make products you love, that creates the energy. So I was more moving towards that direction. He comes in on the Monday morning, he goes, "Man, you know what? Thank you so much, man. This weekend I thought and I've come to some revelations and I want to thank you, Dan." And I'm like, "Sweet, man. So what's the deal?" He goes, "I'm resigning. I'm going to be a cop." I'm like, "What?" Here I was trying to boost him up to be a high performing salesperson, and my conversation helped him find his dream job. He's a police officer. He loves his career. He absolutely loved it. So that's where passion changes. And here's the one thing: when he resigned, I think within 6 months he was a full time police officer. Like he breezed through the academy. He got aced his physical, aced all his scores because he was passionate about it. I've often said to you guys, I'm a grade 9 dropout. I had 0 passion for school. I had 0 passion for learning. Now I can't stop learning enough. Like, if I could, I'd do research all day long, because it's so much fun. I love it, and I love finding out things. I love strategizing. I love saying, "Okay, well, if I implement this in my business, what happens? If I implement this, what happens? If I implement this in my sales, what happens?" Like, I'm so passionate about that. When I was a kid, I wasn't. We all go through these phases, and these phases are here to help us scale and get better. So I hope today's session helped you. I hope it gave you a few more insights, maybe some insights you didn't have before the session, y'all. And with that, I remember, go out there, make every call, every interaction, share your passion with somebody. Don't be desperate, and make sure to go out there and crush your sales. Take care.